Houston, Texas. I'm back in the city, and that's a double entendre because the previous two episodes I did them in Louisville, Texas, and Dallas, Texas, and then I skipped a plane to New York City with my wife. So I'm back in the city for sure. The number one podcast is back in the city. Listen, before we get off into the episode, I want to say this is the number one podcast in Houston, Texas. And we got a lot of creatives that have come on. We've got a lot of great episodes that we've done and a lot more great episodes that we're going to do. So y'all buckle up, man. Binge watch my podcast, the What's Next podcast, a product of Houston, Texas, of Still Visionary Inc. Let's get into the episode.
Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Dear John, the iconic legend Quincy Jones said, "To know where you came from makes it easier for you to get where you're going." Sean Diddy Combs said, "Everyone has challenges and lessons to learn. We wouldn't be who we are without them." If 2018 and the last 6 years taught you something, it's that anything is attainable with the right focus and determination. Continue to build. Continue to promote your vision. Continue to inspire creativity and make more creatives. In closing, Nas said, "No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you do, but how it's done. The first chapter of your vision's movements is done. However, you're still a visionary. Peace and blessings. John Ross."
Yo, it feel like 95, Sachi on my body, Biggie, Jigga, Puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby, and I'm wildin' in my body.
Houston, Texas, welcome back to episode number 23 of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary Inc. My name is John Ross Dike the First, and before I get started with the episode, I want to introduce my social media handles so that you can, so that I don't disrupt the flow of the conversation when I get to that point. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dike and still_visionary. If you would, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my fan page on Facebook, and visit my website at stillvisionary.com. This is episode number 23. This will be the last episode of July. And I wanted to kind of give you a synopsis of everything that was going on and has been going on. Like I said early on in the episode, I'm back in the city. My wife and I, we had to get away for a minute just to, well, for me really, to press the reset button and come back focused, man. So, before I get into the thick part of the episode, I want to catch you up for all the new time subscribers, all the new time listeners and viewers. Everybody who's new streaming my podcast, I want to catch you up to what I've been doing prior to episode number 23. Every so often, I like to come in and I like to sit by myself and talk to my audience, talk on my podcast about what is going on. It's not directly what I want to do with the podcast when I have these episodes by myself, but some updates need to be given out. Okay, so let me start off with episode number 16. Episode number 15, I came on and I announced it was a boy. I was having a boy. Episode number 16, I had my boy K Wright come on. Episode number 17, my dog Phil Adesulu came on. Episode number 18 was entitled Miseducation, featuring my editor Tempest Green. Episode number 19, which I personally feel is my best work up to date, and that's not to diminish anything that anybody else has done before on the podcast. It's just, I'll explain that in a second. Episode number 19, my homegirl. Episode number 19 was entitled Love Overdose, and my homegirls, Demaria and Kennedy, a.k.a. Sir John Monet, came on and talked about Demaria's Love Overdose EP. Episode number 20 I had on my dog from high school, Rodney Samuel, who is the founder and the owner of Extreme Fitness Unlimited. Episode number 21, I went upstate to Louisville, Texas, and talked to my homeboy, Addy, and his wife, Bree, of Addy Daddy Seasonings, and we talked about that. In episode number 22, I took the PG, whatever the President Bush tollway is, I took that over to Dallas, and I talked to my homegirl, Destiny Arrivabor, in an episode entitled Unleashed. So whenever you get a second, man, I got 22 episodes. This being the last episode in July, that makes 23. I got 23 episodes, and you can binge. Now everybody's dropping projects in totality on Netflix and your Hulus or whatever, right? So you can binge watch. And I got about maybe 10 hours worth of podcasts that you should check out whenever you get a chance to. And listen, I guarantee you, if you pick a number from 1 to 23, 23 could be, 23 could be Michael Jordan, right? You say, I want to go Michael Jordan. You say 23. Episode 23, you're going to dig. If you say episode number 19, shout out to Kings of Israel number 19. Episode number 19, you're going to love that. Episode number 6, whatever episode you decide, whatever your favorite number is, pick that number, check out that episode, and you tell me what you think. Leave the comments below. You can hit me on Instagram or on Twitter, John Ross Dike _visionary, and just give me some kind of feedback as to what you feel that you learned from the episode and what you would like to see moving forward. Shout out to my wife and Tempest Green, who are constantly trying to put that bug in my ear to make everything better, man. So, yeah, man, if you get a second, okay, this podcast is on SoundCloud. It's on iTunes under my real name, John Ross Dike, and it's on YouTube, of course. You can go to SoundCloud, download it. It's free on your phone, and you can stream it. You can go to the Apple Music podcast, and you can download that, and you can stream it for free there, or you can watch me on YouTube or on the website, so stillvisionary.com. Listen, let me go back to what I said about episode number 19, and this is not to take away from anybody, right? Because episode number 15 and 16, I messed up the audio. Episode number 22, Des, I'm sorry, I messed up the audio, right? I just forgot to do one thing on my end. But episode number 19, I feel, is the greatest work that I've done before. Well, first of all, I guess, it's the greatest episode that I've done because I sat with it, right? And I was wondering, people ain't gonna say it because they see me grinding. They ain't gonna say it, but it's okay. When I can face reality and I can face the truth, I know exactly what was going on and what wasn't going on, right? So episode number 19, I sat with it. After I recorded it, I sat with it, and I was like, listen, this is so great of an episode. I would hate to waste it visually, right? The audio is there. It's always been there, right? I've had my problems with the audio, but the audio is there. The visual part is what's been lacking, right? So my man Corrigan hits me. He's like, I was like, I'm gonna send you this clip. Post it on your Instagram TV. He was like, yeah, man, I will, man, but it's blurry. So I was like, nah, that it can't be. So as I look at my previous episodes, because I'm my biggest fan, I see that it is kind of blurry. So episode number 19, I sat with it and I was like, listen, I got to make it so this episode is not wasted on my end, because people come and they give their biggest or they give their best whatever, right? They give their best energy to the episode, right? And I want to make sure that I'm not wasting any more people's time visually. So I sat with it and I figured it out. And so now there is no more visual issues with that episode or the episodes after that one. Now, episode number 22, yes, again, I apologize. I messed up the audio, but it won't happen again. So listen, I just came back from New York City. My wife and I, we went to New York for about a week or so. If you didn't know by now, my son passed away. And, it's one of those things where, I'm still looking for the right words to express to myself and to others when they ask me, hey, how's your son doing, or how's your kid doing? And it's one of those things where, there are no right words, but I'm super appreciative of the prayers and the cards and the text messages that people have sent to my wife and I concerning my son. He's in a better place. But it was a couple of things that he taught me, right? He taught me resiliency, what it means to be resilient. He taught me, well, I have learned through his experience that, yo, anything that I put my time into, I want to be the best at. And I hate that it was that experience that I had to deal with, but it taught me that, listen, even as an educator, you got to be better than what you say you've been in the past. You got to be better than what your staff expects you to be. You got to be better for the student than you expect yourself to be and they expect you to be, right? And so that's what really pushed me to um sit back with episode number 19 and figure out what I could do to make it better. I've talked to my editor, and she gave me a couple of nuggets as well. So I look to implement those things. But, I went to New York City because, I've dreamt of New York City since I was 17, 18. From the very first time that I popped in Nas's I Am, and I heard the vivid stories in New York State of Mind, or part two, or I heard the vivid stories in Undying Love, or I heard the vivid stories in Ghetto Prisoners on that album. Those records really painted a picture of what New York City was for me, and so it's a place that I go to press the reset button to watch how people grind relentlessly out there to be able to be successful, and it really kind of shows me that if people's grind is like that in New York City when they have an abundance of opportunity, then down here where I'm trying to make the opportunity available for natives of Houston and natives of Texas and just down south, I gotta grind two or three times harder. And I think that to this date, I've been trying to be consistent. That's the biggest thing. Now, if the projects are trash and the project's just trash, and on my end, I've gotten with my editor to be able to guide the rawness that I possess. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's not an easy task listening to somebody tell you, "Oh, you got to scrap that and start over." You know what I mean? And so, what I've tried to do is I've tried to be more accepting to the critiques that I've opened up for. You know what I mean? So, I went to New York just to get away. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot to lose a child. Um, and when I touched down in New York and I was staying in LIC and I seen like the view of the city and the bridge and all of that and just people driving back to and fro work, the creativity started pouring out. So yeah, a couple of poems that I've written that when I finish them and memorize them, I'll bring them on here. Um, it's one of those things where uh, I'm just at a loss of words, because I know for a fact that I wouldn't have been able to go to New York City this year if my son had still been here. But I understand, as a devout Christian, as a devout believer in Jesus Christ, that my son had served his purpose. It's something my wife is teaching me. It's something that I'm learning as I read the Bible. When I open up the Bible and I read the verse of the day, it's one of those things where, yeah, he served his purpose, and I have feelings that will come out in projects moving forward from here that I'll express only in projects, but I have other feelings. But to understand who I call my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, I got to accept the fact that he served his purpose. No parent, you know what I'm saying? Like I said at his funeral, I said that, my father had a son and his son had a son, you know what I'm saying? So, if I never have another boy again, my son is, you know, it's it's difficult too. Um, yeah, it's excuse me. It's just difficult to be in this position. But the relief that I know I felt was when I went to the graveyard and I saw all his other brothers and sisters there in the graveyard. Pardon me. It was one of those things where, like I said, it's just it's never easy to it's never easy to bury a child, but I found comfort in knowing that he's in a better place. So I went out to New York to basically get away from everything, reset, and get focused because I got to practice resiliency. You know, I got to grind harder and make him proud. So, you know, to my boy John Ross Dyke II, you know, man, you know, I don't think that it's I don't think that it's fair for you, but I know that I know that you would have been a scholar. Uh, you would have just you would have been whatever you want to be in life. So I used to say, pardon me again. I used to say that um, I wouldn't do no tats. You know, I mean, I have my ears pierced. I used to say things like that, um, not understanding the significance of what they meant, right? So uh, my wife and I had talked about it, and I never saw myself ever like whenever people ask me if I was ever tatted, I I said I wasn't. I didn't have any. And so, you know, New York being the place that I wanted to take my boy to for the first time, the very first place I wanted to take him to, my dad was uh was the one that was saying he wanted to take him to Nigeria, but uh, New York being the first place I wanted to take my boy to, um, show him what opportunity looks like, and how if it's not there in front of you, you got to create it on your own. My boy. New York being the first place I wanted to take him to, I I got tatted in New York City, and shout out to my sister Ayana AC, I call her, who pointed me in the right direction of the person that I need to holler at. And let's take a look at it. So on my left hand here, you'll see my son's name was John Ross Dyke the second. I'm John Ross Dyke the first. My dad called him Tiger. When I was younger, I was a shorty. My brother Terry Allen Dyke, he couldn't say my name because my mom originally didn't intend for my name to have a space in it. She didn't intend that I would have a middle name. So he used to call me Yayasi, and my mom called him that too. And so my niece, Abby Richardson, she came up with the word. Um, she didn't come up with the word, but she called him wonderful. Of course, we all called him Baby D. That was Kizzy's. That was Kizzy's way of. Because at first we didn't know the sex of the child, so we called him Baby D so that it would be gender neutral, and that was that was Baby D was his nickname that I even call him, but I also called him El Segundo, because he was the second. So I have those names tatted on my left arm. I have John Ross Dyke first, John Ross Dyke the second, the first line. Second line I have Baby D and El Segundo. The third line I have Tiger, Yayasi, and Wonderful. And on the bottom, when he was able to wear a onesie, my wife had bought for him. The onesie said, uh, "God has big plans for little me." He was a preemie, so that onesie was the only onesie that he got to wear. And so I tatted that line on there. And then on my right arm, I tatted. His sunrise was May the 20th, 2019 at 2:09 p.m. Um, and his sunset was June the 25th, 2019 at 3:45 p.m. And put his social security number to show that he was old enough to receive that. So we filled out the documents and we sent them in, and he was here, and like I said, he's taught me resiliency. Everything that I do from this point on is dedicated to him, and I just want to be the best at what I'm doing at every given chance that I'm doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, that doesn't only include the aspect of Still Visionary Inc., but it also includes my 9 to 5 that pays the bills. I have hopes to be the Teacher of the Year for the 2019 and 20 year, and I won't rest until I have that title. I was nominated my first year, but I want to actually hold that piece of equipment. I want to go to that dinner, and I want to sit there as a creative and say, you know what, I'm here, and I've knocked off one thing on my bucket list. So, yeah, man. I want to say I'd be remiss not to say this. I want to say shout out to my brother Josh Ryan Belize, man. You know, literally 14 years of friendship. 14 years of friendship. I met this kid when we were 20 years old, and this is a relationship unlike another. I met him when we did the Disney internship, and he moved into the room in the apartment that we were living in at the time, and we worked at the same place at Pecos Bill in Magic Kingdom back in the day. And Josh has always been a sound source of encouragement, a sound source of advice. And I asked him to be my best man when I got married 2 years ago this October, and he came down. And well, I went up to New York and we did my bachelor party in New York, and he came down and for the wedding. And Josh is just one of those kind of people, man, that you need somebody like that in your life, somebody who you don't have to see every day of your life, somebody who you didn't grow up with, but every time you call them, y'all gonna sit on the phone for an hour, y'all gonna talk for an hour, and it'll be like nothing ever happened, like you've seen each other. So, hey, JR, we're on to something. 2 times we've seen each other in the last 2 years, man. So, we're on to something. And I love you, man. And anything you need, I love you and I'm rooting for you. I'm your number one fan. You're my boy, my brother, and I've known you for 14 years of my life. I'll be 35 in September, and I remember when I met you, I was 20. And shout out to my god kid's mother, Joanna Hudson. Shout out to you as well. I love you too. Just being able to keep a relationship with somebody that doesn't live in the same state. Every time y'all talk, it's nothing but love. It's nothing but motivation. They're congratulating you and saying that they're proud of you. That means a lot. You know what I'm saying? And on my platform, I want to make sure that I acknowledge y'all for that. Listen, man, like I've said before, and I will go to the grave believing this. I got the number one podcast in this city. And what does that entail? On this podcast, I do stuff that people don't do. You know what I'm saying? Other podcasts are cool. But on my podcast, the creative or whoever comes on gets to tell their story the way that they wrote their story. The way that I write my stories, the way I'm telling you my story. You know what I'm saying? And they get to do the same thing on my platform. I've been getting nuggets that is going to make this podcast even better, but this podcast is for the creators, made for the creative. Made for the creators, made by creative, rather, right? And they get to do what they want to do on here. They talk about what they do. They talk about why they do what they do. And they just give us the backstory of everything. And at the end, I give them a gift from the company, man. Who else is doing that type of stuff in this city? Nobody. You know what I'm saying? So that's why this podcast is number one. So if you're listening to this podcast and you know a creative, right? And, that's a loose definition of what I'm trying to get on here, but a creative, tell them to send me their work. stillvisionaryinc@gmail.com, and I'm going to listen to it. I'm not like all these other people that say, hey, you know what? Because I got to stream the people that come on here because I want to make sure that I have a relationship with this person to be able to tell them what I think and what I don't think. I mean, if it's trash, I'm gonna say it's trash on here so that you understand it. But that's what creation is about. People give what they want to give, and you take it in or you don't take it in. But I like the hottest to come on here. As I look into the camera, I like the hottest to come on here and talk about what they do, why they do, and how they do it. And at the end, I'm gonna give them a T-shirt from my company to them, just showing them, yo, you were here. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, if you know anybody who's a creative, let them know that they need to be on this podcast, right? And so this is the trick that I don't think that a lot of people know, right? You watch it, right? Just like you give me the CD. Like when Kennedy in episode 14, like I said in episode 19, she said it 3 times in 33 minutes. That's 11 minutes. You say it once every 11 minutes, right? I wouldn't do that artist justice if I don't give it to somebody else or give it to somebody else or give it to somebody else. So after you get done watching it, you take the favorite episode that you watched, the favorite number you chose, and you give it to somebody else and you tell them to check it out and tell them and you ask them, what did you think about it? If it's hot, it's hot. If it's not, it's not. You know what I'm saying? But that's how we as independent artists thrive. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. I mean, you know that's what it is. You know, I got the hottest podcast in the city, right? And I'm not gonna wait for anybody to affirm me on that. I wholeheartedly believe that because I've heard the comments and I've seen them. You know what I'm saying? And I got phone calls of people saying, "Listen, man, I appreciate you. Thank you. Nah, thank you." You know what songs on my mind, man? Man, you know, Nas just dropped that new album, right? The Lost Tapes 2, right? And oh man, it's a banger, right? So I'm gonna go with Tanasia. Um Kizzy, where you walk, love, I kiss the floor. Tanasia is one. Then I heard the Crit. Believe is another one, right? So that's Nas, Tanasia, Big Crit, Believe, and just coming back from the city, Gotham City, City of Dreams, City So Nice they had to name it twice. I'm gonna go Jim Jones, NYC, man. Yeah, man, those songs are on my mind right now. You know, the Crit song, when I first heard it, I played it at least 20 times. Shout out to my boy Chris Hunter, because he's one of the biggest Crit fans I know. And it's like he says on his podcast, man, this right here, man. Hey, listen, yeah, that crit record is insane. Believe is insane, man. It is because that's how I'm able to get through this with my wife. We believe that our son fulfilled his purpose, right? And so, yeah, man. Today is July the 24th, 2019, and we have 160 days left in the year. Um, in that 160 days, man, I hope that well, I know that I'm going to be more consistent. I need to break that down to figure out how many more weeks we have. So listen, check this math out, right? We got August, September, October, November, December. That's 5 months. That's 20 weeks, right? This episode drops next week. That is July the 30th, right? So that's episode 23. So after that, I got 20 weeks. So I need to have 20 podcasts done in those 20 weeks. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on my website, stillvisionary.com, SoundCloud, Still Visionary Inc., iTunes, John Ross Dike, and YouTube, Still Visionary Inc. I need to have 20 episodes done, right? And so, yeah, man, with 160 days, that's what I hope to attain in that 160 days. I need to have 20 podcasts done and delivered to you 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I need you to do your job. Watch it, stream it, and give it to 2 or 3 more people, right? I'm being selfish. I want to say 10, but 2 to 3 people that you know that I don't know, right? And so I'll leave you with this, man. No idea. Nah, I don't want to say that one. I kind of want to bite off of off of this before. And if you know where I get this from, then, there's no reason why you shouldn't be watching my podcast or streaming my podcast. Life is a series of moments, and moments pass, so let's treat this one like it's our last. And what's next for me? Healing. Taking Still Visionary Inc. to the next level, and making it from this city of Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas. I do what I do for myself to prove that I can do it for others. Peace and blessings.
Yo, it feel like 95, Sachi on my body, Biggie, jigger, puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies, them valleys, no Pilates. More wet, get you more wet. Nah, that's these Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal, I crystal y'all with that. I saw the sign like Ace of Spades, that Ace of Spades get cracked me like cheers to the money guy, the Willie niggas who buy them bottles and then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dawg. 5 bottles, 1 dick. Why I need 2 bras? I know I'm out of line, but love is shower time. You know it rose rain when your cloud is 9. Get off that high ass hussy. This a private party. Been on my dick too long. Your breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck is up. Over and done. Overdose. Guess we did it again. Sipping with no remorse. We gon'